All right, for this video, we're going to learn how to customize the floors. So if you know how to customize walls and you know how to make new materials and you know about the layers inside of a system family, this is going to be much easier from here on out. Editing the other system families follow a similar pattern. So if you remember, we put a 4-inch concrete floor on our house. Again, floors are a system family. So in order to create a new floor, you would come over here to edit type, and then you would duplicate the type, and then you would edit the structure and put in your different structures on your floor. So let's take a moment to do that now. We're not going to, like before, we clicked a wall and then we edited it. We could click this floor and edit it, but we don't actually want to do that because the floor we put in is right. A 4-inch concrete slab is correct. What we want to do is maybe put in finished floors. So on top of the concrete slab, maybe we want tile or carpet. So let's look at how we would do that. We would make a new floor and we would call it a finished floor. And instead of being 4 inches thick, it would just be, like tiles, maybe 1/4 of an inch thick. So we'll make a 1/4 of an inch floor and we'll assign it a tile pattern. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to the main floor plan because that's where we're going to want to draw our floor. And let's enter the floor command as if we're going to draw the floor. In fact, let's draw the floor. Let's use the rectangle tool. And I'm going to go to the finished face of the wall and to this finished face of the wall. And now that we've drawn our floor where we want it, let's pick our floor. So there's concrete with VCT. There's all these other floors, but I don't see a finished floor that we want. So this is where we're going to create our new type. So we'll go over here, we'll hit edit type, and we're going to duplicate the floor. And instead of 4-inch concrete, let's just do carpet. Let's call it finished floor. -carpet. All right, so now that we've made a new floor type, we'll come over here to the structure and hit edit. And then for the core, we're only going to have one layer because all we're trying to do is put carpet right on top of the concrete. So we're just going to say the carpet's going to be 1/2 inch thick, and we'll leave it as structure. You could change it to something else, but really it doesn't really matter in this case because there's not a structural piece of the floor. It's all just going to be finish. I'm not sure if it'll let us have only a finish. I think the finish has to be outside of the core boundary, but I also don't think you can move. Let's just try it and click OK. Oh, it does. It does let us. Okay, so we'll just keep it as finish because that is what its function is. And now right now its material is set to concrete. So let's change the material. Let's see if they have carpet already in here. There is. So let's just pick the carpet. So you can see the color. So if you don't like the color of the carpet, we can uncheck this box and we can change it to, like, if you want gray, we can move it to a light gray carpet. And then by default, the texture pattern on the surface is just kind of this like sandy looking color or pattern. I'm fine with that. So we'll click OK. And it's still showing you the layer here. Excuse me. We'll click OK again. And now we have made our new finished floor carpet, which let's go back in. I said 1/2 inch. I meant to say 1/4 of an inch. So let's type in 1/4 of an inch. We don't want the carpet to be that thick. So we'll click OK and click OK again. All right, so now we're back at our sketch. We've made our carpet, and now we can finish the sketch. And it's going to give us an error that says the highlighted floor overlaps with another floor. So let's see what it's talking about. The only way we can really kind of see what's going on is to look at it in 3D. So let's look at it in 3D. Let's hide our roof temporarily. And we also need to hide our ceiling. So we'll hide that temporarily. And now Oh, it's hard to see. But do you see how when you select the floor, you get that weird fuzziness when you move it around? It's because the floors are exactly the same height. So we actually want to move the carpet up on top of the concrete. Another way to see this, which might be better, would be to cut a section. So if you remember, if you go to the View tab and you go to the section, you can cut a section through the house. And once you cut the section, you can double click and look at it. And if we look in that room, do you see how our floor is inside the concrete? So let's click our floor, and we want to offset the floor up. So if you go over here, do you remember it's already set to the right level, but maybe let's just change the offset to be 0.25 inches, so 1/4 of an inch. So the thickness of the floor, and then it moves it up. So now when we look at it in 3D, it doesn't conflict anymore. Problem is, I stupidly chose the carpet has the same surface pattern as the concrete, and I even chose the same color. So let's edit our carpet and go into the material for the carpet. Let's change the color to something okay, how about a nice mint green? And then let's change the sand pattern to a dense sand pattern. Click OK, OK. And now you can see there's our carpet. So probably not the color you would choose. Go ahead and make it whatever color you want. So the next thing we'll do is let's just make a tile floor. Oh, the other thing that is happening is in our floor plan view, you can see it's not showing the surface pattern of the floor. That's probably because of a visibility graphics setting. So if you remember, let's click into the view. Let's go to the visibility graphics panel. And I think the shortcut by default is VV or maybe GG. On my computer, it's VG for visibility graphics. I don't remember what it is by default because I have so many of my own. But it's a good shortcut to learn because you use this a lot. So let's go down to floors. And do you see when you highlight the floors, when you look at projection or surface patterns, do you see how it says it's hidden? If you click that little button, let's make it visible again and click OK. Click OK. When you do that, it brings in the surface pattern. So now you can see the concrete and you can see the carpet. So now let's put in tile. So what we're going to do is we'll go into the floor command. And I don't remember which one of these rooms is a bathroom. Let's move this over. The bathroom is here. Okay, so let's do this floor. I'm going to Control Z and take that back over there. If you want, if we go back into visibility graphics, if you go to the floor, there's also a setting that will allow it to be transparent. So see right here where it says transparency. If you want to make these like 50% transparent, we can click OK. And now we can see through the floor so that we can see our floor plan. That might be helpful. All right, so we'll go back to the floor command. And we're going to use the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw in my tile, or where I want the tile. So if you remember, we need to look over here, and it's still set to carpet. So let's edit the type, and we're going to duplicate our carpet, and we're going to call it tile. We're going to click OK. So now we've duplicated it, and now we're free to change the material. So let's go into the structure, and let's change the carpet from carpet to tile. Let's see if there's already a tile in here. There's ceiling tile, but we don't want ceiling tile. There's blue tile, mosaic tile, vinyl tile. Let's make our own. So let's start with mosaic, and let's right click and duplicate the material and asset. And let's just call it regular. Let's do tile 12 by 12. Well, let's do 12 by 24. And let's just call it, let's not worry about the color just yet. So it'll just be a 12 by 24 tile. Now we want to choose our own color. So let's uncheck that box and let's just make it, I don't know, we could do another cream, light cream. Okay, so there's our color. Now it doesn't currently have a surface pattern, but we definitely, on a furnishings plan, we definitely want to see the tile pattern. So let's go to the surface pattern and let's click where it says none. And I don't see, oh, right now it's set to drafting. Make sure it's not set to drafting. We want model patterns because we want to use real world dimensions. So I see a 12, like a 12 by 12, but I don't see a 12 by 24. So we're going to make our own. So we're going to come down here and we're going to create new pattern. And we're going to say 12 by 24. And we're going to do a crosshatch. And we don't want it to have an angle. And then for the line spacing, we'll do 12 inches by 24 inches. And then click OK. And that created our new pattern. So let's select that and click OK. And it'll assign that new pattern to our new tile material. And now let's click OK to assign our material to our floor. And then click OK again and OK again. And now we're back to our sketch. So let's finish our sketch. And again, we forgot to offset it. So it's giving us an error that they're running into each other. So let's select the tile floor again. And remember, let's put the 1/4 inch offset, and then it'll move it back up. So if we want to check to make sure we did it right, we can take this section and we can move it into the bathroom and then look at it. And you can see when we select it, there's our finished floor tile and it's sitting on top. So if we go back to the main floor, now we have our tile floor. So that's how you would generally, if you want to make other tile patterns, if you want a 12 by 12, or if you want to go back to mosaic, you can make a 1 by 1 inch tile, whatever you want, you can do that. You would do the same thing for walls. If you want to put a finish on the wall, instead of recreating this whole wall assembly and adding a layer of tile, it's sometimes nice to create a new wall that's only one layer and it's only 1/4 inch thick, and you can just assign tile to it, and then you draw the tile in front of the walls that you want it on. So if you were going to put a tile surround around the bathtub, you would create a wall with one layer of tile and you would just draw the wall around the tub. And that's how you would put a finish on the wall. That's how we put the finish on the floor. Some companies, depending on your architectural firm, some do it that way. Some don't like it when you do it that way, and they want you to recreate the wall. But it just becomes hard doing it that way, because that would mean you'd need to duplicate this wall and then add tile to this wall. You'd also have to duplicate that wall and add tile to it. So you'd have 2 wall types instead of 1, and then you would have to chop this wall up so it would not have tile on this side, and you'd have to put the tile into this wall on that side. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. It's easier to typically just make a 1-layer wall and put the tile right up against the existing wall. Okay, good luck with this, and let me know if you have any questions.